We welcome our viewers here in the United States and parts of the world. And today we'll be talking with Mr. Ngwira, who is on the ground in Lusaka, Zambia. And we would like to know what's going on there and how the government is performing. This is a government that has been in office 6 months. It's a new government, and they are trying to put themselves together, how things are going over there. So let me welcome my guest, Mr. Ngwira Chanoda, on the screen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Phiri. I appreciate and really get humbled, with such opportunities to speak to the people of America, to speak to the people of the world, and to speak to the people of Zambia and other countries. Before I can go any further, I would want you to allow me to just have maybe a second moment, maybe a moment of silence for a second, because we just lost our sixth, is it seventh? No. Our fourth Republican president. Is it fifth?
Yes.
Yeah, fourth, yes. Mr. Rupia Banda, who went to be with the Lord, I think, last night at his home. So I would want us to just have a moment, even just 1 second.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, so may his soul rest in peace.
Yes.
And yes, I did appreciate, like I said, to be here every Saturday to discuss matters pertaining the governance of this country, which is under the auspices of Mr. Hakainde Hichilema and his government. I must say that just yesterday, he was in Parliament where he was addressing the National Assembly on the issues to do with moral values of the nation. And I must state that for the first time, maybe since he formed government, he personally impressed me because he spoke things that I think touched a number of areas that have to do with the moral decay that this country and Africa at large and the world have been, subjected to for some time now. He talked about early marriages. He talked about alcohol abuse. He talked about, corruption and quite a number of things. Though, of course, there were some sections where people were saying, look, I don't think we need such speeches anymore because I think the president has spoken enough. We need to be at a time when basically we are at least told the roadmap of how this country's economy can survive.
Yeah, I think that's true. What you are saying is, Ngwira, that is very true. Even me, it's not like I'm against the president. I love the man, okay? And even me, there is one thing that he did which I really appreciated, when he increased the money from 1.6 million kwacha to about 26.6 million kwacha. That is the CDF, Constituency Development Fund. I think that is one thing that he also impressed me. At least I have one thing that I can say I liked what he did, because most of the times I've been complaining about his actions. So at least I have one thing that I can say I was impressed. The CDF fund, I can give him a thumbs up. And I am yet to see how that is going to be administered. I really want to see the details of the administration of the 26.6 million kwacha CDF fund. So yes, there are some things that we can point out that President Hakainde Hichilema has done. And going back to what you just said about the moment of silence, President Lupia Bwezani-Banda is the 4th president of the Republic of Zambia, and he passed on. And it is a sad moment for the whole country and for all of us here in the United States. We love the man. Actually, he was chief mediator even in the last election. You see, it is because of him that the country wasn't plunged into chaos. It is because of him. He played a very important role. And I don't think anybody can ignore that. I don't think any political party or anybody with a different political view can speak otherwise. You know, that is a fact that is known and it is established. He played a very important role to make sure that Zambia remained peaceful. May his soul rest in peace.
Yes, indeed. May the soul of our departed 4th Republican president rest in peace. And yes, you've just alluded to, you know, the peace that he brokered between the current president and also the past immediate and only surviving former head of state, Mr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu. I think the role that he played was quite, you know, impressive. And as we speak now, we are talking about good or exemplary, you know, transitions. I think in Africa, we are among, you know, the best when it comes to power change and also transitions in general. And so, really, I want to say that I wish the current government can take leave, you know, from the greater things that Mr. Lupia Banda, you know, did during his reign. And I think during the period of mourning, I'd want to call upon all Zambians across the globe, wherever they are, to really remind our government that there's still something that they can do, because it is rather early for us to start seeing certain mistakes. Yes, the Patriotic Front made their own errors, but not at an early stage as this. I think when the PF formed government, we had very good life. We started at a very good note. Even part of President Lungu's rule, we really had, you know, quite great achievements and things that we could point at to say this is what has happened and this is what the government is doing. But then looking at Mr. Hakainde Hichilema's government, it's too early for us to start complaining of the high cost of living. It is too early for us to start complaining of, you know, lack of proper communication in terms of among government ministries and departments. It is so, you know, disheartening to note that at an early stage, this government do not know what to say, when and how, and who is to say what and to who and when.
Yes, you see, what you are saying is correct. And you know, advice is free. And I can also give it to President Hakainde Hichilema. He doesn't have to pay me for advising him, but he can either choose to take my advice or not. Based on what Mr. Ngwira is saying, we need the peace in the country, and it is going to be better for him as a president, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. It's going to be better for you now that you are only remaining with your last enemy. Or let me not use the word enemy, but I'm sorry for that. Let me use the word opponent. You only have President Lungu, who was your opponent in the last election. You don't have any other person that you can take advice from, because you only have one remaining former head of state. All of them have passed on. Only one is remaining, and that is President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. So I would advise Mr. Hichilema, President of the Republic of Zambia, current President of the Republic of Zambia, at least to find it in his soul to reconcile with the former head of state. This is not for your benefit, it's for the benefit of us, the Zambians. We are about 18 million of us. So we would like him, the current president, to reconcile with the former president so that these people can live in harmony. Because no matter how much the struggle for presidency was, there is still something good that Mr. Hichilema can get from Mr. Lungu, or President Hichilema can get from President Lungu. You see, President Lungu was there for 7 years, so we can say that he has got 7 years of experience. And Mr. Current president, I like to call him Bali. President Bali, he's only 6 months in office, so he has got 6 months experience. So no matter how bad the other person could have been, which is not what I'm saying, but at least in 7 years of experience, he has something that he can advise the 6 months experienced president.
Yeah, precisely. I think it's a challenge to President Hakainde Hichilema to ignore such a noble cause. It will be suicidal of him in terms of governance and his political acumen if he is going to take a risk of still wanting to go after his brother's throat in political terms, because he has nowhere else to go. He cannot go to anybody who has been president in this country apart from President Edgar Lungu. And yes, time and again, he will need, an input of President ECL, whether he likes it or not. He cannot run this country without consultation. And he's not going to go to Tanzania to go and get advice from Jakaya Kikwete. He's not going to go to Malawi to go and get advice from Bingu, or is it from Bakiri Muluzi? He's not going to go, to Congo to go and get advice from Comrade Kabila. He has to go to President Edgar Chagwa Lungu to get advice. So for me, I think I would say it is a time that these two are seen in the streets of Lusaka. They are seen in the streets of whichever international nation that they may go to, together hand in hand, because we only have one statesman in the name of President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. If President Edgar Chagwa Lungu could have committed any crime, I think there's no crime that can ever be forgiven in this country. Let President Hakainde Hichilema allow his brother to be forgiven if at all there's anything worth maybe being called a crime. Going forward, running Zambia is not like running a business. Running Zambia is not like running an enterprise or a home. This is an economy. This is a country. However, whatever happens in this country, definitely it being a landlocked country will affect other countries. So we are hoping that going forward after the demise of Arabi, as we commonly call him here, we are going to see a very solid relationship between Mr. HH and Mr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu. Not for the benefit of Mr. HH, not for the benefit of Mr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, but definitely for the benefit of the Zambian people, for the benefit of the people of the world. That is my prayer.
Yes, and actually I am 100% in agreement with you. That is what I would like to see. Even when the government announces the time of national mourning, I would like to see them together. I'll be very happy if I can see those two people together, President Hakainde Hichilema and President Edgar Lungu. I would like to see them together and next to each other, because this is we are going to go into a time of national mourning. So
Yeah,
I would be very
it has
happy.
already started.
Yes. So I would be very happy to see them together. And you know, with me, the problem is that it's hard for me to pretend. If I'm happy, the whole world will see that I'm happy. And if I'm sad, the whole world will see that I'm sad. It's hard for me to pretend, you know. So I am expecting the president to really look into what the country is expecting of him, you know. So that was what is happening now. I wanted to ask you, Mr. Ngwira, you see, because this problem of the funeral just found us unexpected. We never planned for this. We really needed that man to be around for a long time, you know. So looking at what's going on in the country, you know, I am hearing that most contractors are not getting paid because they are allegedly suspected to be PF sympathizers.
Well,
what's going on in the country about that?
Unfortunately, that is what is happening on the ground. As we speak now, I think more than 90% of contractors that did their jobs, that obviously provided goods and services to the government under the PF, have actually been affected. They are not being paid because it is believed that they had connivance with the former ruling party. And there are claims that basically once these people are being paid, or if they get paid, they are going to strengthen, you know, the Patriotic Front as a party, making it a biggest threat to the UPND. And so I tend to wonder, to say, these contractors do not work with political parties. These contractors get contracted by the government of the day, not by a political party. And these contractors do not get paid from the coffers of a political party. They get paid from the coffers of the Zambian people, and that is through the Ministry of Finance. And these coffers do not belong to a particular political party. They do not belong to Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. They do not belong to any minister in the new government. Neither do they belong to any president, former president. These are our monies. And contractors gave us a service as citizens, and we expect that they get paid. So there's no negotiations. It's a matter of conscience. It's a matter of morality. It's a matter of, you know, responsibility. We must have a conscience. We must have morals, and we must have a responsibility. And once we have these three tenets, then believe you me, we are going to have a better country. I may not have a bigger voice, but I want to appeal to Mr. Hakainde Hichilema and his government that pay contractors, pay suppliers. There is no excuse whatsoever. Whether people are suspected to be PF or whichever political party, what defines us, what is a common denominator among us, is that we are Zambians. And so Zambians cannot suffer. There is no money in circulation, Mr. Piri. The economy is dry. It's completely dry. Actually, a desert may even have some moisture in a way. Zambia's economy is dry. And I wonder how the president manages to move up and about from State House to go to, you know, his community house on a daily basis. But the economy is dry.
Yeah. I think this is what the late President Dr. Kenneth David Kaunda was saying. You know, the man, it's like the man saw these things, you know. He was really concerned about this, you know, and he mentioned about this. I think what the Zambians need to understand is that we were all born in Zambia. And so we are Zambians first before we became UPND or before we became PF or before we became NDC. We have one thing that is a common denominator, which is we are all Zambians. I think if we look at it from that point, it will be easy to live and coexist with people who have a different view or who have got a different political view, you know, or who have got a different color, you know. You see, we are all Zambians. We were born there. So we have the right to coexist. You see, I don't want Zambia to disintegrate to something like what happened in Rwanda, where one tribe is fighting another tribe. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. I never grew up with such kind of behavior. I would like Zambia to remain intact, and this is why we are appealing to the president to really work with the former president. No matter what kind of paint people may paint him, just remember that he has got 7 years of being president. Yeah. So he has experience of that, you see. And talking about his movements up and down, you know,
yeah,
even policemen are complaining that they used to be paid 100 kwacha for some extra time. But now it's really very hard for them because it's like every police post in the country has to send a number of officers to go and man the roads, you know, because he has to move from the community house to the state house in the morning. And he also has to move back at lunchtime to the community house to finish his lunch. And he also has to move back at 2 p.m., which is 14 hours in Zambia, to go back to the office. And he has to also move back at 5, 6 o'clock, which is 17 or 18 hours in Zambia. Go back to the community house. And to make matters worse, those government vehicles cannot sleep at the community house because that is government property. It has to go back to state house. So there's a lot of, I think our police personnel are being subjected to too much work. If the president can move to the country's house where he can do all the job peacefully and nicely and secured, I think he should move to the state house. I know our viewers here may not understand what it is. State house is equal to White House.
White House.
You see? Here in America, they call it White House. Okay? So, if what is happening in Zambia is happening here in America, I don't know what, I don't know if that can be allowed. Because, for example, President Biden comes from Delaware. You see? And if he has to commute from Delaware to White House, and come back for lunch and go back again and then come back in the evening, and those government vehicles should also go back to White House. It's going to be a stress on the economy, and not only that, but also on the public because they have to be cleared out of the way for the president to move peacefully and freely. I think it's a good thing that if the president can consider going to live in State House. You see, that can cut on a lot of expenses and a lot of manpower. We can cut all that. Since he's the one that was really advocating for cutting expenses, unnecessary wasteful spending, he was the one who was the champion of that cause. I think he should lead us by example, by moving to the State House where he can be secured peacefully and nicely.
Exactly, exactly. You know, we are coming from a campaign period that was characterized by a number of promises, that was characterized by promising heaven on earth, that was characterized by quite a number of messages of hope, especially from Mr. Hakainde Hichilema himself. And top on the agenda, among the promises, was that his government will not be a wasteful government regards to the national resources. And so, can you imagine the motorcade has to move 6 times in a day, and we are under 6 months already. Talk of the speed that those vehicles move at, and you know, the higher the speed, obviously, the higher the fuel that is being consumed. There is also tear and wear of state machines, you know, and like you've put it, there's a lot of inconveniences because he's using a road that is quite busy. And so people have to back, people have to clear the way, especially in the morning and in the evening when he's knocking off. And obviously he doesn't eat from State House, he has to eat from Community House. Well, I don't know. But the reason why there was Nkwazi House, the reason is simple. The head of state must be secured because it is no longer business as usual. He does not belong to the people of Wengwa. He does not belong to the people of Namwala. He belongs to the people of Zambia. He is our property, and we must make sure that he's secured. And in Nkwazi House, there is a lot of security detail, security features and all that, which Community House may not have. So I think it is my appeal, just like you have put it, that the president must move from Community House, I've never been there myself, to come to State House. That is a designated house, or rather residency of the head of state.
Yes, yes, I agree with you, Mr. Ngwira, and I think we will continue our discussion next week because of what has happened. But I think that everybody must understand that President Hakainde Hichilema is no longer an individual, private individual. He is a government property. He is a property that belongs to the government of the Republic of Zambia. And when we talk about the government of the Republic of Zambia, we are talking about the 18 million plus Zambians. So he belongs to the Zambian people. He is a property of the government of the Republic of Zambia. And the government of the Republic of Zambia has got a place where they can securely protect him, where they can make sure that he can communicate with the whole world. You see, the phone lines and all the diplomatic communications are right at Nkwazi House, which is called the State House. In America, it's called White House. Everything is right there. So it's time for him to move to the house where he is supposed to be living, where he is supposed to be carrying out business for the whole country. He's no longer a private citizen. He doesn't belong to himself anymore. When he campaigned to be the head of state, these are some of the things he was supposed to put into consideration. That when he becomes president, he is not going to be belonging to himself. He doesn't belong to himself anymore. He belongs to the Republic of Zambia. And this is my appeal to Mr. President. You have to move to State House. That's where we can securely protect you and keep you safely. Thank you so much for listening to us, and we'll be back next week. Thank you.